So the big question is this: how are commercial real estate brokers like us, who didn't take on debt to start their own brokerage, who are stuck in the hamster wheel of day-to-day selling, how do we sell real estate and build our businesses in a way that lets us develop rockstar teammates and create enough leverage to back away from day-to-day selling? How do we get our services, ideas, and insights out into the world and yet still create passive wealth? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to the Expert Commercial Real Estate Secrets Podcast. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best wealth, financial, and real estate minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He is the founding managing partner of Park Avenue Partners, and they're focused on mobile home park investments. He's also an educator and has a passion for producing commercial real estate mobile home park content to help you create and preserve more wealth. He has also acquired 25 mobile home parks in 13 states since 2007, totaling over $56 million of value, and I believe has raised over $34 million for these deals. He started the industry's first podcast of mobile home parks and has the largest group on LinkedIn dedicated to investing in mobile home parks. Please welcome to the show with me, Jefferson. Lilly. Jefferson, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Brett. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Would you give our listeners a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, well, as I say, when I woke up from the concussion, it just seemed like a good idea to buy a mobile home park. But seriously, I got into this business really initially thinking I would buy an apartment building, and just started researching like on LoopNet apartment buildings. I live here in San Francisco. I knew I wasn't going to find cash flow here. So I was already looking, in Lubbock, Texas, and Peoria, Illinois. And I would see, and this goes back now about 15 years, I would see 99 apartment buildings, at an 8 cap. This is circa 2005 pricing. And then there'd be one trailer park that, would be at like a 10 cap. And I thought, well, that's absurd. I'm not buying a friggin' trailer park. And I would delete my search result and search again in Ames, Iowa, and Omaha, Nebraska. So I finally got hit over the head, 5, 6 times, and finally thought, well, why don't I look into this? It does appear that mobile home parks are multifamily. They're listed with all these apartments. Why don't I look into why they're priced the way they are, priced lower, higher yield, higher cap rate? And pretty quickly discovered that it's not that they're insanely difficult to manage. They might not be quite totally passive, but really it's kind of, the pricing is more reflective of it being an overlooked niche. And there are some very compelling dynamics which we can get into that I think make this both recession resistant, it's tax advantaged. And I just think it's better than seniors housing or self-storage or apartments or anything else.
Absolutely. We're going to get into that in a minute. I want to take our listeners one step back though, and also myself to get to know you a little bit better. So, I believe, Jefferson, we've all been given certain gifts, and some people call these superpowers. I believe these gifts are God-given gifts that are given to each of us to be able to be a blessing for others. So I'm curious. I want you to back up to the college days or even the high school days, right? I want you to go back, and I want you to maybe consider what maybe 1 or 2 gifts do you believe you were given, and how do those gifts help how you help people today?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, for better and for worse, I've always been a pretty independent person and a pretty independent thinker. Again, the mobile home park space is gaining in popularity, but I've got a fancy MBA from Wharton, and at least until recently, I think I was the only Ivy League educated guy working in mobile home parks. So I think that helps me there, just to have found this niche. Something else we do that's kind of different, independent thinking is, at least for me, I want to truly partner with my investors. So I take no fees, no salary, nothing like that. We just split the profits. So that gives me at least my version of pure alignment with my investors. So I guess I think independently and differently than the crowd, for better and for worse.
Beautiful. Absolutely love that. And what a unique background there. And we'll dive into that no fees, no salary, split the profits, because I think that's transformational if I'm thinking about it, because I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
But first, let's dive into the top 3 secrets right now for mobile home park investing.
Yeah.
But in particular, think of it a higher level a little bit, maybe, folks that maybe have owned multifamily or senior housing, right? Or retail, right? Ooh, get out of retail if you can, right? And now mobile home parks. Why, Jefferson? And tell us a little bit about the returns and what you see.
So it is still a mostly overlooked niche, certainly gaining in popularity, but still nothing quite like what we've seen in the other basic food groups, traditional multifamily, hotel, office, what have you. So prices tend to be better. There are a couple other things though beyond that. First is that, at least the way we do it, we tend to buy parks that are not horizontal apartment buildings. What I mean by that is we tend to buy mobile home parks where the tenants own those mobile homes, not us. Implication there is that we don't have to maintain all those proverbial leaky roofs and leaky toilets. The tenants do that. It's their home. So that's been a big win to just have our repair and maintenance budget drop. It's typically 5 or 6% of rents. My understanding, I've never owned an apartment complex, but my understanding is traditional multifamily is probably 3x that, somewhere around 15 or 18% of apartment rents go to repair and maintenance because, again, it's so expensive to maintain those improvements to the land. Another thing is, in this business, again, we have folks, frankly, that graduate up out of the apartments. They might not be able to live in a site-built house, Brett, as nice as you and I are blessed to do. But this is their home. This is what they can afford, and it's better to be a home owner of a mobile home, not as good as a site-built home investment, but still far better for these folks to become a homeowner of a mobile home than to remain an apartment renter and just throw away their rent money. Once you own a home, again, not as good of an investment as a site-built house, but still dramatically better for these folks than remaining in an apartment. So our mission is, of course, we are first and foremost a for-profit fund, but we also have a social mission, and that social mission is to help folks become homeowners. So we bring in mobile homes new from the factory to infill any vacant pads. We also buy, when we can get them at good prices, we buy used mobile homes and bring those in. We don't rent them, then we rent to own them, or we help folks get proper mortgages. But either way, we're all about building communities of owners, helping folks that typically make around $35,000 a year. We help them with a clear path to become a homeowner and get out of that game of paying rent. So that's something else, again, that I find particularly compelling about the manufactured housing space versus apartments, which tries to trap people into paying rent forever.
Gotcha. And so powerful and so overlooked, I think, right, on that simple nuance that it's home ownership, but at a drastically reduced price. And we'll talk about some examples of that here in a minute. But by the way, I'm originally from the Bay Area, Mission San Jose, Fremont, just around the corner from San Francisco, right? I live in Sacramento now, and so still have a lot of family there. And California's been faced with just a housing crisis for I don't know how long now, and the cost to build and the cost to own is just very, very challenging for so many people, right? And you're right, when you're dependent upon a apartment complex, or you're dependent upon different rules, and you don't own something yourself, it tends to be not as desirable, right? Not as great for the family and communities. So I love how you put the home ownership, but let's touch on California. And in the mobile home parks, where are you buying them? I'm really curious if you're buying anything in California, if ever, right, for mobile home parks, but maybe you have. Let's talk about that. And then second, where are you finding opportunities?
So again, although I live here in San Francisco, I have never, so far anyway, bought a mobile home park in California. You both have tremendous government regulation. And, heaven help you in particular if you own a park that has private utilities and you're trying to, maintain well water. All the employment regulation and paperwork to fill out is pretty much prohibitive. My understanding is that it's highly likely over the next year or two that California will likely institute statewide rent control. So that really disincents, a park owner from actually maintaining a park. And then there has been, I believe only in California, this concept of failure to maintain, FTM. Some tenants have actually sued their park owners because alleging that a park owner failed to maintain the park and that it had a negative impact on the value of their mobile home. Surprisingly, that law doesn't work the other way, and park owners are not allowed to sue a tenant who's not maintaining his or her mobile home, thus bringing down the value of the park. But tenants can allege sometimes just that there is mold or something growing in a fountain that, again, that is a failure to maintain violation. So California is just so incredibly unsmart and anti-business. I think it unlikely that I'll ever own here.
So Jefferson, hold on, we got to pause there because I couldn't agree with you more. And it's painful because growing up in the Bay Area, my dad, he was building custom homes. And so I had the chance to build homes and do businesses. I'm 37 now, so call it 30 years ago. I'm 7 years old, going to the job site. And he goes, Brett, 30 years ago, you could build and you could do business. And it was, it's a whole different world to what California is today. And it's so sad to see that there's good, solid commercial real estate owners that would love nothing more to do than all the excess land to put in mobile home parks, right? Opportunity to own, right? But the cost and the regulation and the handcuffs, and it just seems like right. You're like, I'm not buying. I'm not going to touch it. So you live in the middle of San Francisco, probably the worst out of all the cities when it comes to this kind of stuff. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like, how do you make sense of any of this? And I feel like California, business-wise, is just lost. I mean, Oracle just announced that they're going to Texas. Tesla's going to Texas, right? At what point are any of the powers that be that run California going to be held accountable for not providing affordable housing or not providing, or really not providing? The better word would be get out of the way so that the private sector can provide the affordable housing. What are your thoughts on that?
It's just maddening. I don't have an answer for what it takes to try and educate a politician, especially in California, to do things in any way that makes common sense. Certainly there would be ways to still protect tenant rights, but still be far more pro-business and allow zoning for mobile home parks, which is now pretty much impossible to get zoning to even do it. If you can, again, the regulations, the setback rules from the roads, which means, again, you can't have that many mobile homes on your land if you could even get the zoning. It's just maddening. I've seen this happen time and again. I got my start out in Oklahoma, which is a far more conservative pro-business state. Even there, they've passed regulations effectively outlawing all new mobile home park construction. The politicians talk out on both sides of the aisle. The politicians talk out of both sides of their mouth. What I saw out in Oklahoma was they changed the density requirements to be 2 acres of land per mobile home. Now, most mobile home parks, say on 2 acres, you would have 20 homes. You'd have approximately 10 per acre. So by taking it from 20 mobile homes allowed per 2 acres down to 1 mobile home, you've eliminated affordable housing. It just doesn't make sense to put a mobile home on that much land. It, of course, becomes far more expensive having to buy 2 acres of land for a single mobile home. The politicians can look you straight in the eye and truthfully say that, they love affordable housing and they haven't outlawed mobile home parks. But again, without using quite that wording in the law by so radically changing the density requirements. This in particular is in the town of Slaughterville, Oklahoma, where I got my start. But by doing that, the politicians they're discriminating against anybody low income. In that town, the only person that can afford 2 acres of land, this is Oklahoma pricing, is probably going to put about a $250,000 house on that land. In Oklahoma, that'd be 3-car garage, decent size 3-2. But again, without using the exact words, they've effectively made it illegal for anybody to live in a house of anything less than about a $250,000 in that town. Don't even talk to me about true affordable housing for mobile homes that might go for 20 to 40 grand. That's now just completely out of reach. So it's very frustrating. We've tried to protest it. We've gotten some attorneys involved, and apparently the local officials have the upper hand, and they just say, well, we're the elected officials. This is the will of the people, and sorry, no more mobile home parks, no more affordable housing.
It's so sad.
Really scary.
It's so sad, right? And then in the meantime, you have big cities, such as San Francisco, homeless population that's growing, right?
Yep.
You have, God forbid we have a real big downturn in the economy, right? I mean, The economy's been on fire and doing really well, yet you still probably have, I don't know the exact stats, but a growing homeless population. And then no one's solving the gap. No one's solving more affordable housing. They're trying to throw stuff like rent control, right? They're trying to punish the landlord. And I have clients that are like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. And they're all selling their assets. They're selling their big assets. They're moving into the Deferred Sales Trust, and they're investing in other states that are friendly, right? Like Texas.
Come to Oklahoma.
Florida.
Come to Iowa, Florida.
And it's
anywhere but California. Anywhere but
oh man, I think the whole thing has to burn down, Jefferson, right? I think that's the answer, right? I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know several folks that have left California. They've finally gotten they're higher income folks, and they are leaving. I don't know anybody. I'm sure there are people moving in, but in my circle, I don't know anybody that's come into California. And I know several high net worth folks that have taken off over the last 1 to 2 years and established residencies in places like Texas and the Dakotas and Florida, other places with far more reasonable tax rates and that are far more pro business.
Here's my prediction, right? So it looks like Biden's got the presidency. Let's see what happens on January 5th, right, with Georgia. If they take the Senate, if the Democrats take the Senate, you're going to see the biggest max exodus out of California, business-wise and high net worth individuals that you've ever seen in the history of I think, California. You're going to see it. And it's already kind of been happening, right? But it's only going to just pour fuel on the fire. And the middle class and the lower class, right? It's going to be they're the ones going to be left pick up the pieces, and they're the ones going to get the higher taxes. And it's just really it's sad to see what's happening. But in the meantime, let's refocus on what we can do, right, and not on what is not in our control, Jefferson. So mobile home parks. So where are you seeing good places to invest, and what does it look like for the average investor? Are they accredited? How are they investing with you? Walk through just some general returns on what that looks like. I know the past performance is never a prediction or a guarantee of future results, but just kind of give us an overview of that.
Yeah. So our current fund is still getting fully invested, but we're already generating right around 5% cash returns to investors. We think that number will roughly double over, say, the next 3 to 4 years. They'll be earning closer to 10 in cash. We pay that out quarterly. And then no guarantees, but if all goes well, at the end of our funds, at the end of a 10-year life, our investors should get all their money back and hopefully a doubling, basically get $2 back for every dollar that they invest. So that would get us to an IRR, we'll see, but somewhere around a 13 to 15% IRR, internal rate of return. Roughly half of that is paid out in cash quarterly. And then the other half of that IRR is again paid out in a large bullet as we split the profits at the end. Our previous funds I've done have been low double digits, and we're certainly not done with the funds or liquidating. We've sold some properties, but again, we think we're on track for getting into the double digit IRR rate of return. That does not take into account, again, the tax benefits and getting the government to write you a check that might be 10-20% of your investment as we generate losses. That's an additional return, but not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual cash that we've been able to generate.
Excellent.
So that's it kind of in a nutshell. It's maybe not quite fancy venture capital returns, not as good as if you were the Series A investor in Google, but this is also a very low risk business. There's really always demand for affordable housing. I just got into the business with my own park back in 2007. So I've been through the 2008, 2009 housing recession. The business performed fine. COVID is now having a bit of an impact, but it's not the end of the world. Nothing like retail or hospitality. I think we'll get through this over the next 6 months or so, maybe 12, again, just fine. There are no guarantees in life, but this is about as close to a guaranteed positive return, good times and bad, as anything I've seen anyway, any legal business.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. What's the most rewarding part of what you do?
Oh, I am an entrepreneur at heart. And again, prior to getting into this business, I worked at 3 different venture-backed startups for about a decade out here in Silicon Valley. So obviously our product here, affordable housing, is different, but what I'm doing is still very entrepreneurial. I love finding the right managers and asset managers and people to join my team. I love still using technology, right? I've got properties coast to coast. We make good use of, video conferencing on cloud-based accounting solutions, things to help me be there, as it were, even if there is a couple thousand miles away. But it's just a lot of fun being an entrepreneur, and again, working specifically to help folks become homeowners.
Beautiful. Love that. When did you become fascinated with helping others achieve financial freedom through investment in real estate and mobile home parks?
Yeah, so that really was kind of kicked off with our podcast, which is called Mobile Home Park Investors. The website is simply mobilehomeparkinvestors.com. But that was going back about 4.5 years ago. We just saw that there was a niche there, and this is, part of what's been deemed to be co-opetition. So we put out hundreds of hours of educational experience, educational content, helping people to become park owners. And I've had people, follow up with me and thank me profusely. They listen to my podcasts and now they're a park owner, which is great. So we're sort of creating a bit of our own competition, helping other people buy this asset class. But we also have folks almost on a weekly basis reach out to us and say, hey, I've heard your podcast, appreciate what you do. Sounds frankly like too much work. I just want to be retired and not actually try and find a mobile home park. Can be hard to find these because there's so few of them. But we have people just call us up, and some of those folks invest with us, anywhere from $50,000 up to we've had a couple of folks go over $1 million with us, which has been great. So anyway, that's kind of how the podcast came about. It's great to help other folks. It's also great to be helped. We've also occasionally had folks send us deals because they've heard our podcast. But again, it's mostly that we have other folks that hear about us and then want to know more about what we do.
Beautiful. Real quick, do you allow 1031 money into your deals, Jefferson? I'm in a 1031. I got $1 million. I call you, Jefferson. Can I 1031?
No, the IRS says no, but you're telling me deferred sales trusts are the answer. So I'm now sending all those calls to you, Brett, and they can come into my fund by way of doing it via a DST.
Boom, you nailed it, right? Thank you for teeing that up. Exactly. So if you're listening to this, just so you know, and you like mobile home park investing and you're selling a high-end primary home business, or you got that fourplex sitting in Palo Alto or La Jolla, and it's just through the roof, appreciation wise, but you don't want to get hammered with capital gains tax and don't want to do a 1031, guess what? You can put into the Deferred Sales Trust, and then you can move it right into Jefferson's deal, all tax deferred. Now, up to 80% of those funds, not all 100%, but that's a great way to diversify, right? To get out of California real estate, and to get some nice passive cash flow. So that is the answer to that. So thanks for that little plug, Jefferson. With that being said, are you ready for the lightning round?
Fire away, Brett.
All right. So knowing what you know now, Jefferson, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget that you would make sure you would tell yourself?
I would probably say to get into this business faster than I did. I look back, my biggest mistake is just moving too slow. I'm going in the right direction, but I got into this business too late. I might not have been able to do it quite at age 25 with my own money, but maybe somewhere between 30 and 35, I would have had the personal net worth to get in, and I would have kicked my own butt, my 25-year-old butt, to move faster on my hunches.
Beautiful. Love that. What's some of the best advice you've ever received from someone else?
To build an advisory board, when I decided to get into this business, I put the word out both online and in person, and ended up building an unofficial advisory board of about 10 guys that were all mobile home park owners. And I would run deals by them, and they would say thumbs up, thumbs down, or don't know, but the key issue is X. Jefferson, go figure out X, then you'll know whether to do this deal. So just having that kind of real world experience on the phone, talking with people, I found to be enormously valuable. So whatever your listeners might want to get into, learn from people that have been there, done that kind of people.
Love it, like a mastermind advisory board for your niche, and you guys are all helping each other, and it's friendly competition and it's friendly collaboration.
Yeah,
right?
And I'm still in touch with some of those guys, so it's great.
Cool. What's one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
I really like, I think it's back here on my shoulder, over my shoulder, the Am I Being Too Subtle? It's Sam Zell's book, his biography. He is, for your listeners who may not know, he is the world's largest mobile home park owner. He's also been the world's largest apartment and office owner as well. His book does not focus on mobile home parks, but it's fairly wide-ranging across all of his business dealings, and it follows him, again, from being a little boy in Chicago through law school and managing apartments for a buddy's dad. Anyway, it's just a good book. I'll leave you with this tip about it. I don't usually do this because I like hardbound books and I like being able to make notes. But this one I actually listen to audio books on tape because Sam Zell himself reads it to you. So I thought that was neat to hear Sam's own autobiography in his own voice. So I would advise folks to get the book and actually have Sam read it to you.
Beautiful. I'm going to get it today. I love that. I have like 13 Amazon credits just sitting on my Audible.
Okay.
Next thing, favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
That's a good one. How about Andy Grove's "Only the Paranoid Survive"?
That's a good one for mobile home park owners.
I'm always worried about what I'm doing wrong and how to make it better, what somebody else might be doing that's not in my interest. So there you go.
Sure, yeah, because I've heard that some of the craziest stories come from mobile home park owners.
We could do a whole podcast on crazy stories, and I don't have all of them by any means.
Only the paranoid survive. I love that. Cool. What are you curious about right now?
Management. So, all of the sort of books and tapes out there about mobile home parks explain just, why they're a good investment. So I'm now at the level where I need to actually manage people to actually, find the houses, do the accounting, answer the phone, post the ads on Craigslist, et cetera, et cetera. I call this mobile home park 2.0. And so I'm passionate about learning more about how to be a better boss. I think I used to be really disastrous. Now I think I'm mediocre. And hopefully in another year or two, I might be good. But it's all about finding the right people, putting the right people in the right jobs, having the right measurables around what they're contributing and what they're being measured against. And then, of course, compensating them well. And for me, at least, that's proven to be more of a challenge than I would have thought. This is all the sort of soft, mushy stuff of business. It's all about, again, people and communication and motivation and culture. So I'm growing through and in that, and have been, for several years. But that's what I'm most passionate about, is just being a better boss and really building a culture of excellence here at Park Avenue Partners.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, as a saying, I like to strive with my business and my family. It's when the leader gets better, everyone gets better, right? And then when individual leaders on your team gets better, the entire company business gets better, right? And so it's establishing the culture of learning to work harder on ourselves than we just do on our jobs, and modeling that with our health, with our finances, with our faith, with our fitness, with our leadership, personal development. And when you do that, everything changes. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's encouraging. Last question, and then also please remind the listeners where they can find you. After all your success, Jefferson, and the podcast, Home Park Investing, going through just the perseverance of growing your company, how do you stay centered in your values? And how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new goals?
Yeah, so there's something in there about work-life balance. So I'm blessed to have a wonderful wife, 3 kids. I am a religious person. I've got a good church community. So fortunately, and I've got other friends of various faiths. But it's great to have people to talk to when I'm having a down day. I do generally take weekends off, do things with my kids, occasionally with my friends. We all now tend to be married and with kids. I'm blessed. Both my folks are still alive. And again, I can bounce questions off them and see what they have to tell me about, how I was nothing like my kids and I must have been a perfect child. And here's how you do child rearing. Anyway, but just having that kind of social connection, especially I would say in these days of COVID, we do make a point again, still to get outside, to be together, with masks and stuff, to get together sometimes with friends. And anyway, so that's really what helps me to be not just a business geek and actually have a personal and faith life as well.
Love it. Where can listeners find you if they want to reach out to you?
ParkAvenuePartners.com. Right at the top of the webpage, there's a button, click, join our mailing list. I honestly don't even think I send out an email more than once a month. Probably should do more, but anyway, you're not going to get spammed. So join us there. You can one click unsubscribe at any time. And at the bottom of the page, there's an intake form. If you just want to email me a question or something else, you can reach me just filling out the form at the bottom there, ParkAvenuePartners.com.
Beautiful. Jefferson, Lilly, I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing so much of your wisdom, some of the deal stories, and some inspiration with us. We're better for it. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts of being an independent thinker, right? And helping people create and preserve more wealth through investment real estate. And with that, I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals, they struggle with capital gains tax when it comes to selling their highly appreciated assets. And not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust or investing passively alongside Jefferson Lilly may just be the best way for you to grow your wealth. With that, please go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com if we can help you at all. It works for cryptocurrency, highly appreciated public stock, private stock, primary homes, investment real estate, businesses. The Deferred Sales Trust is a great solution for deferring capital gains tax. Please rate, review, subscribe. We appreciate everybody. Take care. You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Expert Commercial Real Estate Secrets Podcast with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it valuable. Visit expertcresecrets.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. That's expertcresecrets.com. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.